Well, we've got one final presentation that would be mine on the Brennan's Garfield Substation, finishing that up. And let me get that going, and then we'll have our close. Hold on one moment here. Share. There we go. Okay, view slideshow. Okay, so this is part two and the conclusion of the Garfield Electric Substation. This is a new O-scale laser cut kit from Brennan's Model Railroading, our sponsor of the New Tracks Live. And as I said in the beginning of the show, um, this kit lists for $159.95. If you put on the NEWTRX, you'll get a $20 discount and pay only $139.95. Now, I'm up to presentation number 75 on kit building, or not kit building, scratch building, and some kits in there. And I have to tell you, not because he's our sponsor, but in all honesty, this is a very nice kit at a great value. It The instructions are written step by step. Um, if you've never built a kit before or a kit, I would give this a medium. There's easy kits, medium kits, really hard kits. This is probably medium kit, craftsman kit. Everything fits precise like a watch with this. And you do want to follow the instructions. I got a little arrogant and was telling Dennis offline that I was going to throw the directions away. That would have been a big mistake. There's a few construction techniques in here that are just wonderful and I've never seen before, and a couple almost got by me. So I read the instructions. I even had to call Dennis for some clarification, and you know how many of these things I've built. So it's easy and it's challenging at the same time, but at the very end, you're going to get a museum quality piece when you're all done. Just to review, there's quite a lot to this kit. I show this again because I want you to understand the value in this kit. He bags everything, lists all the contents. You only open what you need. You follow along through the instructions. You open up bag by bag. Um, there were no mistakes really on this kit. Everything just is watch-like, Swiss watch precision. It's just amazing. This is the cupola, and this is when I put this together. I called Dennis up and I said, I was just flabbergasted at the precision. I know it's laser cut and I'm a scratch builder and I don't have access to a laser, but just because something's laser cut doesn't mean it fits together this well. So there's a lot of unique construction ideas going on here, double walls. Everything is, he's using a basswood that has a 3M pre-adhesive on it, so things go together mostly without glue. I super glued. I built this foundation up. This is from the kit. It's basically four pieces of 45-degree. Oh no, actually they integrate. They have a joint here. I super glued this together and I used some wood filler to fill this in. It was actually plastic filler, Tamaya plastic filler. I put it on there with my finger, let it dry, and then I sanded it flush. I painted this a concrete color with polyscale paint. Then I built this up. It basically fits so well together, it falls together. I used super glue to put it all together. Then I super glued it to the base. There's another view. I mean, look at it's just so precise. It's unbelievable. And it just it dropped right in there. You know, no fiddling, nothing. It just fit perfectly. Of course, you have to build this square, but this base went together because it's jointed. it went together perfectly square. Before I glued it, I put a modeler square on the corner. Then I used a very thin super glue on the corner, and then I did one corner at a time with my square. But I had to do no adjustments. And once I built this base up, I painted it with the poly scale. I wanted to pre-paint it before I dropped this um, cupola on. Reminds me of back when I was teenager building model airplanes. This is similar construction. This is these are also I spray painted these with a green satin Rust-Oleum, and then I cut them out, and then I peeled the adhesive off. If you see here, see the 3M adhesive. I just peeled that back, and then I stuck these on. Before you do that, you put on the acetate, which you can see here. Oh, sorry, this mouse a little sensitive. There's the windows there, the acetate material. Everything's by laminate construction, so there's multiple layers. It's goof proof, basically. Um, all these fuzzies and dust went away. I blew it with a compressed air can and got rid of all the dust, but it's just a very precise construction. Now, I didn't want to detail the inside, and I took a note from last week's show. Somebody said, don't spray the outside of the windows. I think Dennis himself said, don't spray the outside of the windows with your dull coat. Leave the outside of the windows shiny like glass would be. And if you want to dull up the window so you can't see through it, just spray the inside. Well, that's what I did. And so I just masked it off with painter's tape. Then I sprayed those windows. It gave me this effect here. Um, and then the roofs, talk about precision. This fit perfectly on here, and it only goes on one way. There's a, this bulkhead is not precisely in the middle. And that's by design, so you can only put these on one way. Oh, this thing's really jumping around. So I just super glued that on. Then there's looking at the inside of it. I put a little bead of super glue, thicker super glue around the perimeter of this. It's not going anywhere. This is an up close of the tar paper. It's a little cattywampus. It's actually parallel and perpendicular on the roof. But what I did is I put pan pastels on there. I used a light gray, medium gray, and black. And then I did it with dull coat, and another happy accident. It looks exactly a like a tar paper that has fine cinders on it. I took this close up to show that. So basically, he gives you these strips of cardstock, and they're perfectly flat black, and he has lines on there to ensure you get the correct, so they're evenly spaced, and everything fit perfectly. And then when I had it all on there, of course, it was just flat black, the cardstock. And then I weathered it, and you could see the brush lines or the chalk lines and things from the pan pastels. But when I hit it with the dull coat, which I hit everything with, another happy accident. I mean, it looks exactly like somebody sprinkled cinders on a tar roof. It was just an amazing effect. And here's the base from last week. I left this was that mistake I made. I thought he has a piece that runs on the inside, four pieces that run on the inside of this perimeter of the building, and I thought that was the foundation. That's when I called it up. I said, that's not sized correctly. Am I doing something wrong in the foundation? I made it to look like limestone. He said, if you would read the instructions, you'd see that was for the top of the roof. That goes on first, and then you put this cardstock piece and glues up against the base of this perimeter. I said, oh, well, now I had a choice to make, either to make these red brick, just repaint it, or leave it limestone. I thought I'd leave it this limestone color so that they just carried this color on from this limestone, what I'm calling limestone trim. Um, and Also, so there's a view of the that look, the happy accident with the pan pastels and the dull coat. I think that looks fantastic. He gives you a aggregate, and that's not shown in this photo, but I put Elmer's glue down here with a brush, and then I sprinkled the aggregate on here and finished the model off. Um, these two smokestacks are a PVC type tubing piping, and I just sprayed them flat black, and I'll weather that a rust. He also has a base for each one of these, so they just don't sit on the roof. There's two bases that fit there. This building will be lighted, and once you put the lights in there, you'll see how neat it looks when you have a frosted glass effect. So you'll have a nice, even lighting situation without having to show interior. There's another view. This is the bad side of town here. I took some liberties here with his permission, and very attractive kit. It worked fine from the early 1920s all the way into contemporary. You know, it can be repurposed for many things. I wanted to show, I don't have a picture of it. Doc asked how I got this brick effect. Um, if you recall, it's not easy without doing an expanded view of this. Hold on a moment, see if we can do this. View. Zoom. There we go. Zoom in. Okay, let me do this the old school way here. Just give me a moment. Okay. Ah, yeah, can everybody see what I'm talking about here? See the detail on the brick? See, it looks like actual brick. Um, what that is the grout material. There's some grout material still left on the brick. And then I went back and I stained that grout material with my acrylic. If you remember my three-step process in doing brick like this, these are laser cut brick that are basically smooth as delivered. So I hit it with Tamiya primer, a gray primer. Then I sprayed it with a obnoxious orange, a cinnamon Krylon paint. And then I used this acrylic um, medium that's like a rust color. It's this color here. And you paint, cover all the brickwork, and then wipe it with a cloth, not paper, with a cloth. And then I put this grout material on there. It's a I gotta remember the name of it, Richards, I believe. But anything, a spackling, any like a light spackling compound would work, or a drywall uh, material would work. Drywall cement, not cement, mat. Oh, I don't know what you call it. Anything that has like a plaster type look to it, I paint that on there, and then I wipe that away with a sock. And then if you just leave a little of that on the surface of the brick and then go back and then go back and I spray it with the dull coat, and then I go back with that acrylic medium, which could be an acrylic paint, and I color the highlights, which would be like a white, like this. This is untouched here, this corner here. See the paint there, or the white? This is painted with that acrylic, and this is not. So if you leave just a little behind and then hit it with the acrylic, you get this look. And honest to God, when you look at this up close, it looks like brick. I mean, that's what brick looks like. So it it, it was a basically a happy accident, but it's a real nice technique. See, it's all that is residue of the mortar sealed and painted. Because if you just try to paint it without hitting it with dull coat, you'll dissolve it. So it's a it's a fourth and fifth step. So step number one, I primed the laser cut material with Tamiya gray non-filling primer. Then I sprayed it with Krylon cinnamon paint, an obnoxious orange. Then I used this acrylic, basically thick paint. You could use any acrylic rust-colored paint, and you paint it right over the orange Krylon, and then wipe it off with the a rag, a sock I used. Then I I used dull coat pretty much between every step just to make sure I don't get any cross mixing of colors. Then the uh, mortar mix is put on there. I use this Richardson's material. I showed it in the last video, but you could use a spackling compound or a watered down plaster. I don't want to use paint. You could, but I think you get a little more, especially in O scale, it looks more realistic if it's some sort of plaster-like material. Then I seal that with dull coat, leaving some of it on, like here. And then I go back, seal it with dull coat, and then I go back with that acrylic color and I restain this stuff. And that's the look you get. So, and then I hit it all with dull coat and finish up with some pan pastel weathering, like here. So, I hope that answers the question on how I did that.
It does, Tom. I've got another question and a comment. My question would be, do you think that that happy accident process would translate to other types of materials, or do you think it's pretty much only going to work on a wood type material? And the comment would be, I think a happy accident's a little understated. I think that you might have just created one of the most amazing mastering techniques we've ever seen as far as brick.
I,
And I
you
would
know,
definitely consider doing that forever.
yeah, I'm not patting myself on the back because it was an accident, but I was just, I mean, if I'd have to call up last week's presentation, had that close up of the corner there, I was just basically amazed at the look. It looked like individual O scale bricks were stacked up there. So it's a technique that's easy to do because it was an accident. Worked very well. The whole key to most of what I do is putting dull coat in between about everything I do, so I don't get cross bleeding of paints and materials and colors. I've pontificated on that on all my scratch builds, and yeah, and you don't have to use that Richardson's mortar mix. You can use spackling compound. You could probably use white paint. I just like the texture you get and the grittiness. You wouldn't get that grittiness using paint on the surface of those bricks. So you'll want to use like a spackling compound or Richardson's mortar mix, and yeah, give it a shot. It's really not so difficult, and it does look really neat. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I'm going to do things going forward. Yeah.
Sure. Do you think it would work on a plastic model or another type of medium other than a laser cut wood
Yeah.
model?
Well, yes, because this this brick, this material that he laser cut I think I can't remember whether he had laser board or, but when I was done spraying it with the Krylon, it had like a plastic like finish to it. It was a semi gloss, a matte finish. And that would simulate plastic. So the answer would be yes, you could use it on plastic so long as you had something for the paint to bite to or the mortar to bite to, and that's where the dull coat comes in. As we learned on the very first presentation this evening, when he did the flash from the silver paint to the matte uh, on the silver, same issue. So long as you have something for these acrylics to bite to, yes, it would work on plastic, yes.